To the conviction this week of the former Rustenburg mayor Matthew Wolmarans and his driver on charges of murdering whistleblower Mos Phakwe. Dlamini says the scourge of corruption in the Northwest Province has divided the ANC into camps. He adds it was disgusting to see ANC members from the Northwest Province physically fighting for positions at the recent ANC policy conference. The City of Cape Town's disaster risk management teams remain on high alert following the heavy rainfall that started last night. 12 areas have experienced flooding. At the Strand near Gordons Bay, 480 people are being housed in a local community hall after their dwellings were flooded. Disaster risk management spokesperson Wilfred Solomons Johannes elaborates on the other worst affected area.
The Delft relocation area, the section is waterlogged and the 500 homes are threatened by the stagnant water where the people have illegally occupied the homes and our law enforcement officers are on scene. We have made arrangements for engineering solutions to be implemented to prevent the houses being flooded.
A new study of tax havens around the world has found that as much as $21 trillion is being held offshore beyond the reach of tax authorities. The report was compiled by their campaign group, the Tax Justice Network, which says the gap between the rich and poor is much larger than had been realized. The BBC's Warren Bull has more.
$21 trillion is equivalent to the gross domestic product of the United States and Japan combined. And the Tax Justice Network believes the amount held in tax havens could be higher still. It highlights how the super-rich move money into secretive jurisdictions such as Switzerland and the Cayman Islands with the help of private banks, and that oil-rich states such as Russia and Nigeria are especially prone to having wealth disappear offshore instead of being invested at home. The research concludes that politicians around the world are relying on a failed concept of wealth being transferred to poorer people through a trickle-down effect.
Further afield, thousands of people are reported to have fled the Syrian city of Aleppo to escape fighting between government forces and rebels. Aleppo, until recently a relatively secure government stronghold, has become the latest focus of the revolt against President Assad. The BBC's Jim Muir reports from neighbouring Lebanon.
The clashes in Aleppo are an ominous development for the regime. Until just last weekend, both Damascus and Aleppo were relatively untouched by the uprising and remained strongholds of the regime. Here and in many other places, the government faces its most deadly and blatant challenge yet, a reinvigorated revolt starting to scent victory after 16 months of deadlocked carnage. The regime has to hit back or admit defeat. Nobody knows how this drama will end, but many feel that it is moving into its final phases.
In other news, the United States has cut military aid to Rwanda after accusations that it's been supporting rebels in the neighbouring Democratic Republic of Congo. Rwanda strongly denies any involvement in the rebellion across its western border, which has forced 200,000 people to flee their homes. The BBC's Gabriel Gatehouse has more.
In terms of military spending, it's a tiny sum of money, but it's a hugely symbolic move. The United States is Rwanda's staunchest defender in the international community. By cutting military aid, Washington is effectively saying, we believe the reports that Rwanda is destabilizing the region by supporting the Congolese rebels. Last month, the United Nations submitted a report to the Security Council detailing what it said was compelling evidence that Rwanda was supplying the rebel movement, known as M23, with fighters and equipment, as well as facilitating the movement of key commanders across the border between Congo and Rwanda.
And finally, media mogul Rupert Murdoch has resigned as a director of several companies behind his British newspapers. The move follows a scandal over phone hacking by some of his papers. This report from the BBC's Robert Peston.
The parent company of all these newspapers says not too much should be read into the departures. Mr. Murdoch is also resigning from around 9 other businesses in the US, India and Australia. A spokesman describes all the resignations as a house-cleaning exercise in preparation for the already announced breakup of News Corporation into 2 companies, and the point is that Rupert Murdoch plans to be chairman of both of those businesses. So although he may be a bit further removed from the famous British newspapers, they'll continue to report to him.
And taking a look at the top story, COSATU President Dumo Dlamini says the Federation will intensify its efforts of exposing any form of corruption and maladministration in all spheres of government.